My name is David. I'm 52 years old. Last Tuesday, I had a heart attack in the middle of a budget meeting. One minute I was pointing at a spreadsheet, and the next minute, the floor was rushing up to hit me in the face. When I woke up in the hospital, the doctor told me I was lucky. He said I needed to reduce my stress. He said I was working myself into an early grave. But lying there in that hospital bed, staring at the white ceiling tiles, I knew it wasn't just the work that put me there. It was the life I had been living for the last 10 years. I have been a single dad to 2 boys for a decade, full custody. And when I say single dad, I don't mean I have them on weekends. I mean I am the one doing everything, every single day. People call me super dad. They tell me I'm doing a great job. But they don't know the reality. They don't know how isolating it is to be a man in a world designed for mothers. For 10 years, I have felt like an error in the system. It started with the schools. Even though I have been the primary parent for a decade, the school still sends mail addressed to Mrs. Miller. I have changed the contact forms a dozen times. I have told the office staff, it's just me. But the letters still come for her. Every time I open one, it's a reminder that I am not the default parent. It makes me feel like I don't really count, like I'm just a placeholder. Then there were the playgrounds. When the boys were younger, I used to take them to the park. I wanted them to have friends. I wanted to have friends. I'd see groups of moms chatting, laughing, planning play dates. I wanted to walk over and join in. But I learned very quickly that I couldn't. If a mom walks up to a group of parents, she is welcomed. But when a single man walks up to a group of moms, the conversation stops. They look at you with suspicion. They give you double takes. A man alone at a playground is treated like a threat until proven otherwise. I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable, so I learned to stand back. I learned to keep my head down and stare at my phone. I stopped trying to make friends because the rejection was just too humiliating. I thought maybe I could find a partner, someone to share this life with. But dating? That was the biggest joke of all. I haven't been on a date in 6 years. I gave up. It's not that I'm ugly or unfriendly. It's that women run the other way when they hear full custody of 2 kids. Even single moms don't want to date a guy in my situation. They want a man who is independent, someone who can sweep in and save the day, not a guy who has to rush home to make dinner and help with homework. So I accepted it. I accepted that I was going to be alone. But a man can't just sit around feeling lonely. I had to do something with all that time and energy. So I threw myself into the only place where I didn't feel like an outsider: my job. At the office, nobody looked at me with suspicion. At the office, I wasn't the weird single dad. I was just David, the manager. I was respected there. I started working 60 hours a week. I told myself I was doing it for the money, to provide for the boys. And sure, I paid the bills. I bought the big house. But the truth is, I used work as a shield. I worked to hide from the loneliness. I worked because it was easier than going home to an empty social life. I worked because at the office, I felt like I had control. I thought I was being a good father by working myself to death. I thought that paying for everything was the same thing as being there. But last Tuesday, when my heart stopped beating for a few seconds, I realized the truth. I haven't really talked to my sons in years. I've been so busy fighting the world, so busy trying to prove I could do it alone, that I forgot to actually know them. I have spent 10 years being a provider, but I stopped being a dad a long time ago. Lying in that hospital bed, staring at the monitors, I had to face the lie I had been telling myself for a decade. I thought I was a good provider because I paid the bills, but looking back, I realized I had provided everything except myself. People see my title and my salary, and they assume we live a good life. But do you know how I spent my vacation time for the last 10 years? I have 15 vacation days a year, and I never spent them on a beach. I never spent them camping. This is the reality of doing it alone. When you are a single dad, scheduling appointments is a nightmare. There is no one else to take the hit. So, I used my vacation days to sit in waiting rooms. One day for the orthodontist, one day for the pediatrician, one day because the school called and said one of them had a fever. By the end of the year, I had 0 days left for actual rest. I haven't been to a doctor for myself in 3 years because I couldn't find the time. And look where that got me. Strapped to a machine at 52. And it wasn't just the physical exhaustion, it was the emotional weight. One of the most tiring parts of my life has been defending my ex-wife. When people find out I have full custody, they look at me like a saint and they assume she must be a monster. They whisper, "What did she do? Is she on drugs?" I have to constantly correct them. I have to say, "No, she's a good mom. It just worked out this way." We actually get along well now, but I am so tired of managing other people's judgments. I am tired of explaining my family to strangers. So, I stopped explaining. I withdrew. I told myself I was making these sacrifices for a better future. I developed a habit of saying one word: later. I remember when my son Leo was 12. He was obsessed with Japan. I promised him, "Leo, before you graduate, we will go to Tokyo, just the two of us." He was so excited. He bought a guidebook. But then, later happened. When he was 14, I said, "Not this year, work is crazy, next year." When he was 16, I said, "We need to save a little more for college first, next year." I truly believed it. I thought that by working hard today, I was buying us a perfect tomorrow. But lying in the ICU, I did the math. Leo is 18 now. He graduates in 2 months. We never went to Tokyo. He stopped asking about the trip years ago. He stopped showing me the guidebook. He realized before I did that next year was just a lie adults tell to make themselves feel better. I realized that my son is about to leave my house. He will pack his bags and start his own life. And I will be left in this big paid-off house with all my money and all my security, and I will be completely alone. I was so busy preparing for the future that I missed their entire childhood. I looked at the nurse checking my IV and asked, "What day is it?" "It's Thursday," she said. My heart sank. Thursday was Leo's senior night. It was his last home soccer game. I was supposed to be there. I had put it on my calendar months ago. I thought about Leo standing on that field. I pictured the other seniors walking out with their parents, moms and dads holding hands, cheering. And I pictured Leo standing there, looking at the empty space next to him, thinking, "Dad is working again." The pain in my chest got worse, but it wasn't the heart attack this time. It was the realization that if I died right now, my legacy wouldn't be love. It would be a checking account and an empty chair at a soccer game. I looked at the nurse. "I have to leave." "You can't," she said. "You're unstable." "I don't care," I said. "I'm not missing this." The nurse looked at me like I was insane. "Mr. Miller, you cannot leave. Your enzymes are still elevated. You are a liability." "I'm signing the papers," I said. My voice was shaky, but my hands were steady. "Give me the AMA form. I'm leaving against medical advice." I wasn't trying to be a tough guy. I was terrified. My chest still felt like someone was sitting on it, but I knew what day it was. It was Thursday, senior night, and this is the brutal reality of being a single dad that nobody talks about. There is no backup plan. If I were part of a couple, my wife would be there. If I had managed to date, maybe a girlfriend would be there. But as I told you, I haven't had a date in years because women run the other way when they hear full-time custody. If I had friends, maybe I could have called one of them. But I had spent 10 years isolating myself because I was tired of the suspicious looks at the playground, tired of making other parents uncomfortable just by existing. So, there was no one else. There was no aunt, no grandmother, no village. It was just me. If I didn't show up, my son would be standing on that field completely alone. I signed the papers. I called a ride. The car ride to the high school stadium was a blur of nausea and anxiety. When I pulled up to the curb, I could hear the announcer calling out names over the loudspeaker. I walked toward the bleachers. Every step felt like running a marathon. I was dizzy. I looked around at the other families. I saw moms and dads holding hands, wearing buttons with their kids' faces on them. I saw grandparents holding flowers. It was a sea of support. And then I saw Leo. He was standing on the sidelines with the other seniors. They were all lining up to walk across the field with their parents. Leo was standing at the very end of the line, looking down at his cleats. He wasn't looking for me. He didn't even have his head up. He had accepted it. He thought I was stuck at work or too tired, just like the last 100 times. He thought he was the only kid who didn't matter enough. I took a deep breath, ignored the tightness in my chest, and walked onto the grass. "Leo!" I shouted. He looked up. His eyes went wide. He looked at my pale face. He looked at the plastic hospital bracelet I had forgotten to cut off my wrist. "Dad?" he said. "What are you doing here? You look terrible." "I'm here," I said, grabbing his shoulder to steady myself. "I'm here for you." For a second, I thought he was going to be angry. I thought he was going to push me away for all the broken promises, for the trip to Japan we never took, for the years of silence. But he didn't. His face crumpled. He grabbed me and hugged me so hard I thought my heart might actually stop this time. "I thought you weren't coming," he whispered into my shoulder. "I know," I said. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." We walked across that field together. The announcer said his name, Leo Miller, accompanied by his father, David. I didn't have flowers. I didn't have a button with his face on it. I was wearing wrinkled clothes and I smelled like hospital antiseptic. But for the first time in 10 years, I wasn't just a provider. I wasn't just a wallet. I was his father. After the game, we didn't go to a fancy dinner. I sat in the car with Leo and his brother, and we ate drive-through burgers in the parking lot. "Dad," Leo said, wiping ketchup off his face, "you really scared us." "I scared myself," I admitted. Then I looked at him. "I promise, we'll do the Japan trip, as soon as I'm better." Leo shook his head. "Dad, forget Japan. We don't care about Tokyo. We just want you to actually be here, like this, just eating burgers." It hit me harder than the heart attack. I had spent a decade killing myself to give them the world, using my vacation time for doctor's appointments and working late to secure their future. But they didn't want the world. They just wanted me.